So I've been messing around with the latest snapshot over the past couple of days once again. This time I'm not messing around with the water mechanics, I'm actually messing around with something in the water. The pufferfish. Now for those of you who don't know, if you walk too close to a pufferfish or swim too close to a pufferfish, they will puff up and spike you with a poison potion, and that means that you can actually use them in traps. If you place a bit of water underneath some carpet, then of course when the player walks over it, yeah, they're going to get a bit of a nasty surprise. But for me personally, this little setup that we have back here isn't exactly great, because if I want to build this thing in my own base to catch intruders, well, I'm going to be the one that gets hit by it the most, which isn't exactly perfect. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to build a bunch of toggleable designs. And this first design is really simple. It requires a 3x5 area and it works in the walls of your base. So the first thing we need to do is place a sticky piston facing upwards with a block on its face. Then we're going to go a couple blocks across like this and just place in a double piston extender with an upside down stair at the end, and that's actually where our pufferfish is going to be going. Now we need to make sure that none of the water from that stair is going to be flowing out anywhere, so we're going to place in blocks like this, and this area here is going to be the floor area, and then these blocks here are actually going to be the wall on the inside of your base, which means that if the player walks within this block radius of this area here, then they're going to get attacked. But before we do any attacking, we're going to need to actually link up all the redstone. So the first thing we need to do is create a pulse extender underneath this piston right here. So we're going to have comparators facing in both directions, and then a redstone torch underneath just like that. And then to wire up our double piston extender, we just need to create a little torch tower there with some blocks going around like this, redstone dust, a repeater set to 4 ticks, and a repeater set to 2 ticks running into that back piston. And then to do the final extension, the extension to this piston right here, all we're going to have to do is place some redstone dust running across like this, a block up like this, quickly remove this piston just temporarily to place in this block, and then we're going to need some more redstone dust and then a block like that. And then if we quickly replace this sticky piston and grab ourselves a lever, we should see that the entire thing is going to be in full working order. So if we flick that, you can see that our block gets retracted out of the way, and then our stairs get pushed across, and if we flick it again, then our stairs get retracted and our block gets re-extended. Perfect. Well, not quite yet, because we still need to put the pufferfish on the inside, and I'm going to warn you, it can be a bit of a finicky procedure. What we have to do is remove our upside down stairs and quickly place in a temporary block there, place in your pufferfish from the water bucket, and then some upside down stairs on top of it, and quickly surround those upside down stairs with blocks, then fill up that stair with water, so that will flow down like that. Then we need to just grab ourselves a regular piston and try to place it facing downwards there, which is going to be quite painful in survival mode, but you're going to have to try and do it. And then we just need to power that regular piston, and we should see that the pufferfish will now be on the inside of those stairs, and it will be being hydrated, hopefully, by this little water block here. So we can remove all of this setup, remove all of these blocks, and we should be left with something like this. Then we just have to make sure that we actually remove this block right here, fix up any redstone that has been removed by water floods, which you can see I've had quite a few of them, and then we can give it a tester. So if we flick this lever, you can see that our pufferfish has been moved across and it is now in the kill zone. And if we flick it again, you can see that the pufferfish actually gets retracted out the way and this block re-extends. And I just want to make it clear how deadly this thing is. So currently it's toggled off, but if we flick this lever down on the bottom, you can see that's launched me straight off the platform, first off, but also it causes a ton of damage. Anyway, moving on from that one, now we're going to take a look at an even simpler design which will allow you to trap a staircase. And I personally really like this one because it's super simple, and just like the previous, it's also really lethal. All you have to do is place a regular piston facing upwards in the bottom of this 3x4 area, and then we're going to place 2 blocks going across like this with redstone dust, and we're going to have a redstone torch just like that. And then we need to make sure that we cover up this entire space because that's where our water is going to be flowing. But we're not going to be having glass on the back wall. Instead of that, we're going to be having ourselves some dispensers, and inside these dispensers we have got some water buckets. Now I'll be getting onto that in the next couple seconds, but first what we have to do is do the pulse extender for this bottom area. So you want to place a 4-tick repeater and then a 1-tick repeater and then some redstone dust wrapping around just like that. Now the input for this thing is going to be this block right here, and we're going to have some redstone dust, and then we're going to have an observer facing across just like this with a block on its face, and believe it or not, that is all of the wiring completed. Oh, I totally lied, there's just a tiny bit more wiring that you do need to to do. You need to place in a block down here with some redstone dust underneath, which is going to be powering that bottom dispenser. As I say, this is where your lever is going to be going. And one quick thing that you also need to do is make sure that you place a block on the front of this piston here, otherwise all of your water is going to flow out and it's going to destroy all of your redstone, which is, yeah, that's not a fun thing to happen. Anyway, the next thing that we have to do is make sure that these two dispensers are on different water patterns. So we need to power this top dispenser and make sure that it shoots out its water. So this one has got an empty bucket, this one has got a filled bucket, which means that when we flick this lever, we get something like this happening. That is exactly what we want. So all that's left to do now is remove your stair, place in your pufferfish, replace the stair, and then when we flick the lever, you can see that the pufferfish sinks down to the bottom, and that's not going to be hurting anyone. But then when we flick the lever again, the pufferfish gets pushed up to the top, and if we were to pop through into survival mode... Oh, yeah, it's pretty brutal. I think it goes without saying that this next design is quite a bit bigger than the previous designs that I've featured so far in this video, but you'll be happy to hear that it's incredibly simple to build, and this allows you to place your pufferfish in the center of a 3-wide walkway. So there's no way the player can walk through without being hit with this thing, which I would say is a big positive. All we have to do is place 3 pistons facing across in this direction on this side, and then we need to place in 3 pistons facing across in that direction on the opposite side with a block here, an upside down slab, and then a block, and then we need 1, 2, 3 blocks like this, and then we should see we've got a 3-block gap right there, and all we have to do is place blocks up on either side just like that, because these are going to be the walls of your 3-wide walkway. Then to actually do all of the redstone wiring, all we have to do is place blocks going across like this with repeaters set to 4 ticks on each one of those, and then do the same thing on the other side. So that is repeaters set to 4 ticks going all the way across like this. In the center right here, this is where our lever is going to be going, and then on one side we need a rising edge monostable circuit, so that can be that one, and connect up that redstone there. And then on this other side we're going to need a falling edge monostable circuit, so that's a redstone torch, and then our sticky piston with our observer with the redstone dust running across just like that. And believe it or not, that is everything completed. If we flick this lever right here, you can see that this all gets pushed across. And if we flick the lever again, then this will all get pushed across here. I've actually built that wall incorrectly. How did I not notice that? Except, of course, you guessed it, the pufferfish. We still definitely need the pufferfish. So to do this one, the first thing that we have to do is we actually need to make sure that no water is going to be flowing out from this thing. We need to make sure that all of these areas are covered so that our water and our pufferfish don't actually fall out. Then we need to replace this slab right here, so we need to remove that one, place in some water right there. We then need to place in our slab, place in the blocks around the outside. We actually need to place in the pufferfish before we do that, so then it's the slab. And then we need to place in the water on the inside of the slab, and then the piston facing downwards here, and then we push down that slab, and there we go. That does the trick. Our pufferfish is now fully encased inside that area and can be transported across at will and then moved out the way. So just to prove that this thing works in survival mode, if we go into game mode survival, I cannot be hit by this thing. If I'm in this corridor without the pufferfish being there, no matter how close I walk to this wall, nothing is going to happen. But if I flick this lever and move him across, straight away, I have been nailed by it. I mean, this thing, it really does get you, and you're not going to know what's going on. I mean, if you have a lot of these through a corridor, say you have a full corridor of them, the players aren't going to stand a chance. They really aren't. And obviously your lever doesn't have to go there. It can be wired in from somewhere else. These things are crazy. Now I thought just before I round up this video, I would pop into my little pufferfish testing world to show you a little quirk that I found when working with them, which is a tiny bit on the disappointing side, because as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like you're able to push up pufferfish and have them maintain their poisonousness. Because as you can see, look, I've created a system right here, which there we have our little pufferfish, and the little guy gets pushed around quite a lot. So there you go, he gets dropped down into the chamber. In theory, this machine is toggled off, and then when we flick the lever again, it is now toggled on, because this pufferfish is now underneath this slab. But if we pop through into survival mode, you can see that the pufferfish doesn't cause us any damage whatsoever. Absolutely none. However, if we walk over here, you can see that we have a pufferfish in exactly the same situation. It's underneath the slab. Look, they look pretty much identical. But this one absolutely does cause me damage. So it looks like when you've got yourself a pufferfish that's been pushed up by a piston, it's just a tiny bit too low. It's kind of sitting in the underside of the piston. It's just a tiny bit too low, and it doesn't actually cause damage. And look, you can see if I pop through into survival here, it is definitely still potent. It just doesn't work through the slab, which is a real shame because that would have opened up a lot of opportunities for traps and other mechanisms like that. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this redstone video. I hope that you found the machines useful. If you did, please also hit that like button. And if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.